Okay, YouTubers, what's happening? Got the old C10 on the battery charger. She doesn't like this cooler weather. By cooler, I mean 50s at night. So yeah, got that on the charger. But what I'm gonna do today? Let's just start with my non-sponsored. These are the best gloves ever. I don't know if you guys can get these. Diamond Grip Microflex. They are latex. I like latex gloves. I guess they last longer. Those other ones rip. I can get like 4, 5, 6 uses out of these. So unless you have an allergy or something. But yeah, those are badass, by the way. Anyway, let's move right into what we're doing here. I picked up a distributor, the whole kit and caboodle. Everything ready to plop in. I will pop off that cap and inspect what's going on, what kind of shenanigans they got inside. Maybe I'll show you that. But rather than guess at my ignition problem, or is it fuel, if I buy just the coil for the same price as that whole thing, then I'd still have a bad pickup coil maybe, or module. Just plop the whole thing in there. It's come down to that. Decided to do the right thing, put it in the vise with these soft jaws, patent pending. This is the one I got. It had several, A-star reviews on Amazon, as well as many other places, I'm sure. Wow, look at that. It's a cap, it's a rotor, it's a button. Nice module in there. Just look through the camera, Mike. God, sorry, guys. Yeah, looks like everything's in there. Should probably check that back in advance. Make sure it works, huh? Could take the rotor off too. Look at the weights. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Recording now? Now it's recording. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's a little better, a little cleaner than my other one. You saw the rust, my weights and everything. Nice new springs. That'd be nice to have. Those other ones were iffy. Now, this is the pickup coil. Anyone's wondering? This is the ignition module. And over here they give you a little. That's just for interference with radio frequencies. And if I want to check my vacuum advance, I put that on and hope that it's advancing. Which I'm sure it is. This is brand new. It's finest quality. And your rotor only goes on one way. It's not cheer. Was not right there. So you can't screw that up. Okay. All right. Okay, more voiceover. So yeah, hooked up the vacuum gauge, give it a little pump. You can see it actuating, so it is working. It's not holding vacuum though, because my connection is not very good. So we're going to take a look at that. That's better. All right, holding vacuum. So we know our vacuum actuator works. That diaphragm is in good working order, as it should be. It's brand new. So just a good idea to check, right? Let's pop the cap off. It only goes one way as well. See a little notch right there? So you can't screw that up. And then, yeah, just plop it right in there. Make sure it's seated. Okay, just going to pop the distributor cap off now. And my wires. I'm not worried about the order because I know the firing order is 18436572. And number 1 is the right front, typically. And it is in this situation. So I'm just going to start pulling these off. However, if you're not sure, you can just label them. You can do it one at a time, whichever you're more comfortable with. And here is the important part. So we're going to be pulling the distributor. We want to make sure that we know exactly where that rotor is, because we didn't do top dead center or anything. So we know that that rotor is pointing right there at the firewall. I'm going to make a mark. That will be the number 2 position, we'll call it. Because when you go to loosen the bolt and lift this distributor out, that rotor is going to turn counterclockwise back. And it's going to be pointing almost straight at the firewall. It's always going to move because that you'll see the gear at the bottom of the distributor is curved gears. What do they call that? But so you got to get that accurate. Otherwise, your timing's not going to be right. All right, also a good idea at this point is to make a note of where the vacuum advance vacuum port is pointing. You can see that's pointing at that yay angle. Typically, they're all in this location. But I'll make a little chalk mark there as well, so we can get that pretty accurate. Because this is all where your timing comes in. I am going to put a timing light on this afterwards and check it. Okay, it is go time. We've loosened that bolt. We've slid the bracket back. We are ready to lift this distributor out of there. So we have it at our B position, or I'll call it B. And we're going to lift it up, and it's going to spin backwards towards our, we'll call it A position. So when you go back to drop this in, you want an A position. It's going to move over to the B position. And so it comes up, it's almost, straight back at the firewall. So that's what's here. This is just the most important part for getting your timing right when putting everything back in. So see that, and then it spins back to that position. When we lift it up, it'll go back again. Okay, here's our distributor. We're out. What I cleaned off here, that is the casting number. I looked up what I think, I can't really see it now because I'm editing on a phone, but it looks like a 110-3282, which says this came out of a 79-305 engine, which is probably accurate for this. It says 307, close enough. Everything is there. It's a little oily and cruddy. There's our gear, helical gear. It drives off the, oil drive right there, oil pump drive. And then we get, like some crud there, so glad I'd change your oil, folks. That's what happens there. So other than that, we are ready to get this other one back in there. And our nice new shiny brandy new one. I like how they wrap this in like a wax paper. Keeps it oily, keep it from rusting. Spins nice and freely. Got a nice new gasket here. I'm probably just going to smear a little RTV on there. Just a dab to hold it up in there more than anything. Gasket will do the sealing. Make sure the surface is clean. And we're just going to plop that in there. Start at our A position. Let that rotor spin to the B position. Like so. Okay, can we finally drop this thing in there, for crying out loud? Ugh. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, here I am. I'm going to put a little oil on these. This is just engine oil I have in a little squeeze bottle. Put that on the threads. Those aren't threads, a gear. And we're going to bring her on over here. Got the RTV on the gasket. The gasket's in there. Just going to line her up with that mark on the firewall. Kind of see it there. My big hand is in the way. The rotor's in the way. Plopped in there. And I think this was, it was fighting me a little bit. It turns out my clamp, the hold down clamp, was in the way. It kind of maneuvered back in. And I couldn't really see it. But make sure that's out of the way. A little wiggle action. And this should spin right over. I got it right, should spin back over to the other mark. I'm sure that's what I'm yapping about here. And like I said, that clamp was holding me up. There it went, popped right down. And now my hand's in the way and you can't see. But as soon as I move my hand, you'll see. There she is. All right. Now we should be pretty damn close with timing too. And here's my clamp back in place. And I just snugged it up. I want to be able to spin the distributor, like you said, to do set the timing. And this is coming over to my mark. I just had it moved it over that way while it was tightening the nut, the bolt rather. So right there is where it was. That looks like, I initially thought, oh, I might be off a tooth, but if I look back at the initial video, that chalk mark that's where it was. It's just deceiving. I think it's just my camera angle. I don't know, but timing was perfect afterwards. Okay, here we are. Got our cap with the coil back on. That number one is that's where number one plug wire is. It's usually always that front there. So number one cylinder is the right front on this engine. Most manufacturers, it's going to be there. That's GM order right there. 1, 2, 3, 4 odds and evens. Ford does the opposite. They do one side, and I'm showing you here how that number one bank is always a little bit further forward. That's why that's number one. I think that goes for any engine. Whatever the V engine, there's always one cylinder's a little more further forward. That's always going to be number one, allegedly. So that's that. That's firing order 1843657 I'm just going to walk around. It's going to be clockwise with the plug wires. Now, don't go getting jealous of my $5,000 snap-on timing light from decades ago. Glad I held on to this thing. I went ahead and started it, and you can't hear it. Blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to hit the tack, and yeah, she's got this nice low idle. I think it's a little cold. It's probably all that work we just did. And I'm just going to get in there and check the timing, obviously. It was spot on, believe it or not. That's the beauty of doing it this way. Just making those marks, plop it back in, and you should be good to go. All right, this is my feeble attempt at showing you the timing marks. Don't know if this will show up. Maybe on, there's the marker down there, but the very top of my pointer is, I think 12 or 14 degrees advance. And that's where I've been running. I'm running like 12 degrees. And I think that's right about where I got it. And there's the tripod shaking on the bumper. Okay, pull that away. All good. She's running good. I'm going to give her the old Italian tune-up. Got some seafoam here. We're just going to give her some RPM and slowly dribble this down the throat of the carburetor. And I'm going to block the whole thing with my shoulder, apparently. That was good, Mike. Real good. But just slowly pouring this into the carburetor, holding it at like 2,000 RPM so it doesn't stall. That just will burn all the carbon off of valves, intake, carburetor, maybe even the top of the pistons. That would be nice. Okay, dribbled that stuff in there. Engine nice and hot. Revved it a few times and let it idle. Turned it off, and you can let it sit for like 20 minutes. And that stuff will supposedly just kind of burn off in there. Then I'm going to get ready to take this thing for a ride. I caution you at pouring anything down your carburetor because when I was at the dealer, GM made this top engine cleaner, and I followed the instructions. And I was working on a G van, which is a conversion van. Nobody likes working on vans because the engine's inside basically. So they had you pour this stuff down the carburetor like I was doing here. But the instructions were to let the engine die and then pour in the rest of the bottle, which I thought was a little suspect, and let it soak for a half hour. Well, it did that, and when I went to restart the van, it bent a push rod because that was sitting in the top of the piston probably. And thinking back now in hindsight, it's like, yeah, of course that's just going to sit there. It's not going to leak down anywhere. So that was a nightmare, and since then I do not like pouring anything down the engine. So be careful. Definitely don't do it after it stalls. If you feel like there's fluid in there, pull your spark plugs and turn it over and blow all that shit out. Word of caution. Oh my God, can you believe this? All that footage. This was all blue lights. It was connected. Here's the other piece. But it wasn't recognizing. My phone didn't recognize it as it was plugged in. So anyway, wrapped it all up. I'll probably voice over the whole thing. Anyway, the distributor's in. Gonna go for a ride. Timing set. Yada, yada, yada. All right. Till the next one, guys. So I thought I'd get on the freeway, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I live in Los Angeles. There's no freeway speeds. So it's a Saturday. Heading west. Maybe I gotta go east. Looks like east is moving better. Maybe I can get over 30 miles an hour. Blow some carbon out of this. Oh, that was better. Went east, couple exits. Buried the speedometer, which is off, so maybe 85. But yeah, I'm happy. It's running good. And I don't know, maybe I'll make a destination. Go get some lunch.